Joining.
Oh man, I'm so excited for today. It's one of those days where you can only dream about in certain sections when you're excited to talk about what you're excited to talk about. Thank you for joining. This is AJ Rodriguez, the host here of The Wolf of Smoke Street, where we want all the smoke. Some people always say, you know, talking about the things that I'm about to talk about are controversial because in reality, the industry really doesn't want you to know. It's because what we have here is we have a very touchy subject with a lot of people. Okay, and the touchy subject comes when you find yourself in a position getting into a new business or becoming a new business owner and not understanding the true intricacies of what goes behind the scenes. So today, how the risk department really thinks, okay? Inside every payment processor, there's a hidden department. Like I said in reference to before, they're their own island. You'll probably never talk to them. You'll never get their names, but they control your money, which is a real important thing. You know, when somebody controls your money and you don't know who they are or how they control your money, it's something that you should be aware of, and that's my whole point in this conversation today. They don't celebrate you when your business is excelling, and they don't celebrate you as like when you're like blowing up and starting to like boom and your business is taking off and you're like so celebrated in the fact of the matter of where you're at, right? They panic. They don't know your business model and it doesn't make sense to them. And they assume that an explosion or a high rise in the processing world, sometimes equivalates to fraud. And their mission isn't to understand you, it's to stop you or to stop the next chargeback before the next fine comes or before you even know they're in trouble. Now, let's talk about and let's peel the curtain back on the actual merchant accounts themselves, okay? Now, everybody just think about it like this. There are thousands and thousands of transactions that go on daily, right? So there's no way physically to have eyes on the actual transactions that go by. So it's all AI and generated and automated. And that algorithm freezes and unlocks. And this freeze. Let me go back. The algorithm freezes or unlocks your account based on history or transactional history. Now, it looks very, very, very major when the algorithm sees growth and expansion, where they say, oh my God, every major processor, starting with Stripe, PayPal, Square, they all run eternal score models inside of these eternal flags. It's not that they're analyzing your ethics, they're analyzing the footprint behavior. So like spikes in volume, average ticket size increasing, cardholder disputes, website metadata, chargeback ratios. Now, back in 2022, right, routers reported that PayPal froze accounts tied to journalists and human rights activists, citing risk-based reviews. But the kicker is many were frozen by automated tools, not human fraud checks. So when you look back at what happened in 2022, how could you say a journalist or a activist group that is now receiving more money or more donations or whatever it is as a form of fraud? So they were frozen. And so when the system sees things that are abnormal, they're not questioning you. They're just going to lock you out. And then that's where you have to follow up, and you have to start asking questions on like, well, what happened with my account? Why is my account frozen? Why am I, where's my funds? So let's just talk about the 3 red flags that the automation picks up on, right? The first one is obviously velocity and volume. The second one is MCC, and then the third one are logins. Now, when you say logins, okay, well, obviously the first one, velocity, if you process 10 times your normal daily volume in 48 hours, you're flagged, you're tagged. You could have had like a pop-up blow-up event, or you had a certain, let's use a bookstore for example, has an author come in, and then all of a sudden the author signs books, and they obviously sell hundreds of books. They look at it and say that's a risk, right? MCC, which MCC stands for Merchant Category Codes, and these are practically gospel. This is what I talked about previously about setting your account up correctly. If your merchant account is set up correctly under the correct MCC, and then the algorithm sees these transactions coming through, then they'll go on ahead and see them as normal transactions. But when your MCCs don't match, so if you're registered as like retail apparel, but your checkout flow shows like a SaaS subscription or a coaching funnel, you've just triggered Visa's misinterpretation of the rule. Now, suspicious logins. This is huge. Login patterns outside your region is an instant red flag. The VPN might protect you from your browser, but not to the risk team. It looks like it's like compromised access, or you're running a business that's not based here in the United States, and it just raises suspicious activity. Why are you logging in? And that could easily be explained. I'm on vacation. I want to see what my sales are doing. Okay, no problem. But when you have consistent login outside of your region, your business is, for example, based in Michigan, but you're always logging in out of Europe, they're going to say, why are you always logging in out of Europe? In 2021, an internal memo was actually leaked from Square, reported by Business Insider, and it showed non-local IP activities that were shut down were nearly 12% of accounts that were frozen just in Q1 because of non-local IP activity. Those are things that, go look it up yourself. In 2021, there was an internal memo leak from Square, reported by Business Insider. That's got to blow your mind. The other thing that, regardless, as an account rep, I'm always on the side of, if everything's on the up and up, let's get risk department that is the information they're going to need. Risk, understand, it's not risk's job to help you clear up your chargeback or your holds. It's your account manager's job to work with you to get risk the information. Their incentive is to protect the processor, not your business. That's why their default mode is merchant is guilty until proven innocent. And again, if you have a good account relationship with a good account manager, you set things up correctly and you provide risk the documentation necessary for them to feel comfortable with your business, they'll release that hold. A lot of times it's just presentation of your actual documents, because if your documents aren't in order, it's one of those things. Now, here's another case study going back to 2022. A class action lawsuit was actually filed in the state of California against PayPal, revealing that they froze without evidence of fraud. The funds were held for 180 days in a review period. Merchants argued that they were never given proof of wrongdoing, meaning PayPal shut down a bunch of accounts. They didn't give evidence on why they were shut down, nor did they give a reason, and they held the money for 180 days. That's a class action lawsuit you can go look up in 2022 that was filed against PayPal. The message is they don't need proof. They freeze it. It's their safety net. You got to look at it that they're trying to mitigate their losses. Now, it isn't the actual, like, they're not doing anything wrong. They're actually doing their job. But when you set up with the right account manager that will help you, guide you through setting your account up correctly, like we keep speaking about and going over the MCCs, your proper documentation, terms and agreements, those are all the things that then the processor will become on your side. When you start having the documentation and all your ducks in a row, then the risk department recognizes after you fight a few of these and you win because your ducks in a row, then risk start to say, hey, so-and-so over there at so-and-so does clean business. Ask them for the documentation and let's get things moving. It's all about relationship. Just like anything else in life, personal, business, spiritual, it's a slow relationship build. It's not done overnight. But here's the painful truth. Processors see you as a liability, not a partner. And why? Because let's just back up and talk about the guys that are out there that know that there are people doing things correctly and they're not. The losses that these acquirers take yearly based on fraud is tremendous. So I don't want to take and misconstrue my message that, processors are wrong for freezing your money. In some cases, they rightfully should. Your account wasn't set up correctly. You're not doing the things the way you're supposed to be doing. And if you're not going to be following card brand rules, the acquirer is open to fines. And these fines add up into the millions. So, that's the flip side on that. Now, one of the things that I want to bring up, in 2020, Visa fined a major European acquirer over 10 million euros for allowing merchants to misrepresent their business category codes. The acquirer at the time immediately terminated hundreds of small businesses overnight. The businesses may not have been doing anything technically wrong. The businesses may have been just doing business, your normal deli, whatever. It didn't matter. What mattered was Visa fined the acquirer over 10 million euros for allowing the merchants to misrepresent their business category code. So this is the reason why underwriters are very strict, and then the risk department's even more stricter. So remember, the freeze isn't about you. The freeze is about them. The money that they get fined and they lose is more important to them than the actual businesses out there. So again, if you set up your account correctly, you won't have problems with the actual risk department. Now, the most common ways merchants get frozen is, so, okay, let me back up. This is how it actually happens, right? Here are the 4 biggest landmines we've seen backed by real cases. Inconsistent documentation. If your tax records, your website, your banking details don't match exactly, then you're on the block. Case and study, New York had a case where a wellness brand scaled on Stripe and it had its payouts frozen when its EIN said Holistics Brands XYZ, but the domain was registered fast something something media. Stripe flagged it. It's an identity mismatch, and it locked its figures up for 90 days. Those are big red flags. Another thing, category versus cash outflow. If your MID, which is your merchant identification number, says home goods, but your cash outflow looks like coaching or digital products or Nutra products, the risk department calls that misrepresentation. So let me give you an example of harmless misrepresentation. You start out with product A. Then you see, oh my God, I'm also trying out this new product and it's taking off. And then you think, well, I'll just sell product A and B together on the same merchant. That is misrepresentation, especially if the 2 products are 2 different products, right? So what's the best thing to do is call your account rep up, say, I have a new product I want to bring to market, and I want to go on ahead and have a way to be able to accept credit cards for that product. Okay, back in 2021, Visa's global risk reports listed merchant representation as one of the top 3 compliance violations worldwide. Again, listen to this. In 2021, Global Risk reported that merchant risk representation was one of the top 3 violations worldwide. Not here in America, North America, South America, Asia, Europe, worldwide. Now, another thing, high refund rates. Even when you're legit, whatever, you're legit. Refunds at scale make you look unstable. So people don't understand. You run 150 transactions and you give 40 of them back. It makes the relationship look unstable. It makes the relationship feel like the product was pushed. It's not a good look. Even if you're using RDR, voluntary, the person calls up and you voluntarily give it back, RDR, any of those refunds. So let's just go back, for example, case study during COVID-19. The airline and travel agencies face refund rates up to 20 to 30% according to the FTC's 2020 report. Payment processors responded by freezing the entire sector. As we all know today, travel is a very difficult let me back up. Everybody knows that travel is a very difficult MID to get approved, and this is why. Some agencies went bankrupt because of fraud, some because of risk controls. Nobody could really control what was going on during COVID, and that FTC report showed the increase on how that industry took a great impact. And let's talk about something that is the ugly truth about our industry. And I'm going to give you an example up front, and I just want you to look at it like from a fairness standpoint, if I stood out of any major sporting event and sold, or not even sold, let's say I gave away 1,000 hot dogs, right? And out of that 1,000 hot dogs, people gave a response on the way out. How would you think about their hot dogs? And on the way out of that 1,000, 30 people said the hot dogs sucked. Let's translate those hot dog sales. You sold 1,000 hot dogs, and on the way out, 30 people said their hot dogs sucked, and they call their credit card company and they refund that hot dog. Well, right now, you have just violated a chargeback rule. You're now considered high risk just because 30 people out of 1,000 people didn't like your hot dog. Think about that. That's 3%, right? The card brands want you to stay no higher than 1%, right? Visa and MasterCard rules say that chargeback ratios passing 1% will consider you high risk. Past 2% and your processor may terminate your account completely. Understand that. Some people don't realize, forget about the freeze. Forget about the holds. They can close your account. You have more than 2% chargebacks. Okay? So, for example, in 2021, MasterCard fined a U.S. acquirer $5 million for exceeding excessive chargeback thresholds. The acquirer responded by instantly dropping hundreds of merchants with spotless reputations. Now, in closing, here's the cold reality. The risk department don't wait for proof. They act before the fire, not after. They act before the smoke. All this means is you need to play by the rules. And if you play by the rules, you'll always win because there'll be nothing for risk to have to protect. So, understand the rules of survival. Keep your documentation tight. EIN, bank info, domain, everything matches perfectly. Be transparent with your merchant MCC code, your merchant category code. If you're going to be selling nootropics, say you're selling nootropics. If you're going to be selling energy drinks that fall into nootropics, say you're selling that. Don't say you're selling vitamin water and then you're selling nootropics. Don't hide behind false categories. Visa fines kill accounts. And this is the stuff that processors look at. And one of the things that I've always said, your processor's not your partner. They are a relationship. And the relationship eventually gets built on trust, and the trust goes both ways. You're going to have to build trust with your processor as your processor is going to have to build trust with you that they're not going to freeze your accounts and they're going to understand your business model. But again, this goes all the way back to step one. Choose your account manager wisely. Because when you choose your account manager wisely and who they represent, then you'll find yourself in a position to where I can have a nurtured account with longevity. I'm going to have a sustainable business model. As long as I fulfill and do what I say I'm going to do, I'm going to have the affordability to be able to keep my account and grow my account. So with that, let me end with, we are going to eventually start with the Discord announcement in the next podcast. We're going to go on ahead with the Wolf of Smoke Street playbook. The playbook is going to be there. Everything we talk about is going to be wrapped up in the actual Discord channel. And if anybody has any questions, concerns, or you want to find out you know, what I'm aligned with or who I'm aligned with, don't hesitate to reach out. I answer all DMs. Once again, I really do appreciate the sponsor of the show, Expedio Payments. And I also want to do an honorable mention to Nativia, and I also want to do an honorable mention to Merchant Service Depot. Those two affiliations have really come through clutch for me, and Merchant Industries as well. I want to mention them guys because they also really make it happen for me, and I have a great relationship with all three businesses, and I just want to shout them out because, again, great guys. So again, please feel free to hit that subscribe, follow, like, share button. It really helps the cause, and again, it's all for the purpose of the community. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to DM me. Again, we will be on live, God willing, tomorrow, 10 a.m. Tomorrow, excuse me, we'll be on Monday, 10 a.m. So look forward to hearing from everybody. Monday is going to be the extended podcast. It will be 1 hour long, and hopefully I will try to have a guest on for that show. But if not, I'll make sure that I bring you everything live and direct, raw and uncut. We really appreciate it. Thank you guys. And again, before I end all shows, all thanks and glory due to God. He is there for us, and I want to thank my production team behind God for if it wasn't for my production team. And I want to say big shout out. Everybody knows that I love, our editing team, but we just hired a new person for our research team, and I want to welcome her. Keeping her name private because I know that she lives a private life, but I just want everybody to know that a lot of the new research and things that are coming across, and a lot of the fine facts that we are finding are because of the new research team that we've hired, and I want to bring a big thanks to her because she is really making a big impact in our team, and I really want to thank her. So everybody, I really appreciate everybody. Big shout out one time for the boys in the back, and I really, guys, appreciate it.